Hey guys. We have a new stencil out. We actually have 3 new stencils in. I'm going to show them to you right now. And these are 15 by 7 inches. So they're the same width, but they are shorter in height. It's called Trippy Blocks, and it is trippy. It's very dimensional, very like geographic. Is that what you would call that?
Looks like the game Cubert from the 80s, that video game.
This is the basket weave. This one is inspired by Amy of AJ's Vintage Designs. And this one I'm excited to use. I want to use this with the same technique that we're going to use tonight and make it a raised stencil, because you can use these just with paint. So now I've already thrown my packaging away and I only got one example. So this is mine. It looks a little goofy, right? It's called Nailhead Trim. For some reason today, it has been received really well on mine, but I don't think people could quite get a vision for it because it's double stacked. So you've got 2 or 2 and 2, whichever way you want to use it. So here is my example. This is just a cute little toolbox that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. And this is what I did to it. What I love about it is I used we're going to use mud. We're going to do this tonight. And it makes a texture. So I called it Nailhead Trim. If you just paint, you could do like a fake nailhead trim, right? Or it might look like polka dots, just polka dots. I love nailhead trim because it adds depth and texture and also a metallic option. You can use a metallic option as well. Tilt it so that they can see the raised on it as well. And you'll see that. So I've put the mud on, and then I painted over it with green because I did the mud and I did the white Dixie Belle Mud. So we're gonna highlight this real quick. So I know I've skipped ahead, but I wanna do this with y'all, and then we're gonna move over to this other box. I just take the stencil and I lay it back down over it right where the raised is. Now this one wasn't raised very much at all. This one I scraped off most of the mud, and then I just put a little bit of this on my finger, this is how I do things, on the palm of my hand, because I like it right here when I'm embellishing with gold wax. I'm using the gold gilding wax by Dixie Belle right now. I like to have it right here at my fingertips. So because this one isn't as raised as much as the other one is, it's not going to catch it quite as easily. But if that's the look that you're going for, you can do that too. But you could also do just this on a flat surface with just paint. All right, I think I'll do just that much. We'll just save the rest. So see? So there it is. That's actually a good comparison. So you can see half of it without and half of it with. Put this over here, and let me show you what I've done so far over here. So this is a wine box. I left it like that so you could see that it was a wine box. Okay, so I painted this one in the beautiful midnight green. That, by the way, was cactus. So you want to see the difference between cactus and the midnight green. Here we go. So I painted 1 coat, and that's it. And then I used 2 rows, and I did it in the black mud. So this is done in black mud. I've not put any paint on this on top of it. I've done black mud. Mud can be used for repairs, it can be used for craft items, it can be used for decorative. So that's what I did on the other box, was the white mud. So I decided just to try something different, that I wanted to try black mud this time. It's the same exact thing, but it's already tinted and it's black. The reasons you might not want to use the white mud is if you want to sand over the top of it and you've got paint on top of it and it's a dark paint, which I figured this was going to be dark. If you go to sand this back, it'll just sand back to the dark, which I'm gonna make dark nail heads anyway, that I pre-planned. You can either just leave it, you could leave it like this, but look at the difference between this and this. So I'm going into all this trouble so that you guys can see if you wanna do this on furniture. So the difference here is that this one I shaded with some dark wax. That makes it look more believable to me. It gives it a lot more depth even than it already has, where this right here looks very flat and fake. So I feel like it needs a dark wax on top of it too. So I'm just gonna get out my Bestang wax brush here, one of my Bestang wax brushes. And I am just gonna slide some black wax on here, and then we're gonna wipe it back with a wet cloth. I'm gonna put it on pretty liberally. So here we go, I'm just gonna get some black wax on here. This is over the silk midnight green and the black mud. That's what I've used. Okay, so the good thing about our wax, is it is a water-based wax, so you're able to wipe it back with a wet cloth. You've got time to play around with it. I'm just gonna start kind of pulling this off. That's that. Now we're just gonna rub it down with like a dry cloth because I'm gonna put the gold wax on right on top of it. The copper or the gold I think would really bounce off of there. So let's pull out some copper. So now I'm gonna lay back down the stencil. All right, so here we go. Got my copper on my finger and I'm just gonna start rubbing this. Oh my gosh, this copper is so gorgeous. I don't use it that often just because I'm such a gold fanatic. So this one I used the whole sheet all the way across, and then I went ahead and started it over. It wasn't, see how it's not quite long enough on each end, and I went ahead and just started a repeat. And I thought the size is really good for furniture painters and crafters alike because it's big enough. If you want to do it on drawer fronts, or maybe you want to do it around the skirt of a dresser, you could just use one row of it. And the gold gilding wax is not oil-based, and is not water-based, and it does have a little bit of a solvent smell to it. It smells really good. What? That is so pretty. Oh my gosh, look at it with the black. Look at it with the black wax in there. That is gorgeous. Wow, wowza. With some, maybe like some black and hammered copper looking legs or feet on it. I think this is beautiful. But we're gonna flip it. We're gonna flip it this way. All right, so let's do it. Let's apply it, okay? So what I did was I could just look and see, just kind of made it about half and half. Okay, so this is the Dixie Belle Mud. I'm using a palette knife. The thing about Dixie Mud is you do want to store this in a refrigerator after you open it because it can go bad. So you want to store it to keep it nice and fresh, and it will last a very, very long time. Okay, here we go. I've got my palette knife down and I'm just going to start running it across just like this. It's no different than icing a cake, which I love. And remember, I'm going to show you, give you a couple little tips here. You can put it on, you can just pile on a bunch, you know, just pile it on. That way you don't have to keep going back to your jar. Now, when you're working on this, you can press really hard and you can scrape it all the way down so that you see the mylar and the dot, and that's fine. It'll still work. It'll still be a somewhat raised. But if you really want it to be really raised, you need to leave a little bit more product on it than scraping it down like that. Remember, I don't want to scrape it all the way down, but I'm also not trying to make mountains. Not trying to make mountains out of molehills. Okay, so that's it. I'm just gonna take my tape off, and that is it. So this is what it looks like when you pull your stencil off. And that is what this other side will look like as well. So we let that dry. I put one thick coat of Dixie Belle black wax on there, the Best Dang Wax in black. I wiped it off with a baby wipe. I laid the stencil back down and I put the copper. Okay, so this right here, you guys, it is so easy to clean off. I just take my scraper that I'm working with and I just scrape all the excess mud off just like that, and I put it back in my jar. So I just scraped that off, and then I can just go wash this in the sink, the excess off in the sink. I think that's it. I think that is it. And I can't wait to see what y'all do with this, with your stencil. Y'all take care.
Bye.